Goodness, you're gonna have to go get that light. We're live. Good morning. Y'all are here already.
Good morning.
Merry early Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
And I'm sorry, y'all, if you missed us last week. We'll talk about that in a minute. But can you see us? Good morning. Wait, new timeout links. Welcome to chat. Anyways, good morning if you're just joining us for the very first time. I'm Amber.
And I'm Leroy.
You can call him whatever you want. It doesn't matter. He'll answer. And we're two of the five Bradshaw family members that moved from the city off grid here in East Tennessee, where we currently live now with our son got married to Ashlyn. They live here on the property, but they have their own off grid home about a tenth of a mile north, south, above us, north, above us. Our mother lives here. My mom lives here, mother-in-law, Purpa, half a mile down the mountain in the holler, and then Morgan lives in Knoxville with her boyfriend Austin. So we're kind of scattered a little bit, but we've also grown a little bit. So good morning. Hey, we have everybody here this
Thanks for
morning.
joining us.
Thanks for joining us. This is actually my very first sip. So give me a moment while Yahoo over here talks. Leroy.
No, my name's not Leroy. It's Leroy. No, I'm Tim. For those who don't know me, Timmy. Timmy.
This still isn't that bright, but that's okay. It's sunny outside
We're
and it's
here, though.
beautiful. We're here. Yeah, God bless. So if you're wondering what the heck did you just turn on to or stumble on, not a whole lot. We drink coffee and chit chat, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, what are we going to talk about today?
I didn't tell you.
Me?
I'm sorry. I stopped the world revolving around you when I hit go live just for a moment.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. It's really dark though. Do you want to get that light or the one up top? Or is it okay to be in the dark? It's okay. Y'all can see, right? Hang on. Let's get closer. Woo! There we go. Anyways, no, we're going to talk about family.
Family.
Yeah. Well, it's Christmas
Hmm.
Eve tomorrow and Christmas the next day. And
Hmm. Okay.
here, go pray about it for a minute. Anyhow, good morning. How y'all doing? Are y'all doing good? Do you have winter where you are? We have a taste of winter and then it goes away. And then spring comes back or fall. Then we get a taste of winter and it goes away. And I'm actually okay with that. You?
Well, we've dodged a couple of storms.
Yes. Very thankful for that.
Well, I mean, we did have some high winds the other day, but
And there
the
was
snow, we've missed the snow. We've missed the snow.
tornadoes here and all that.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, it's kind of been crazy.
Yeah, my heart goes out to the ones who've
The
the
flooding back
flooding.
home.
Yeah, flooding in South Carolina. The
It was
There's
horrible.
a lot of homes lost.
And businesses like the week before Christmas. I mean, back home in Pawleys Island in Georgetown County.
Lives
And
lost.
yeah, it was crazy. It was winter, now it's foggy. It's well, it actually looks pretty clear out there with some patches of clouds, and we're gonna have rain for the next 2 days. I'm like a bunch of old people sitting around talking about the weather. Next, we'll be talking about our bowel movements. How's yours been lately? You pretty regular? It's important to stay on top of that. Oh goodness. So last week we were supposed to discuss we were going to a meeting, we were going to our prepper group, we were going to talk about your bug out bags and get home bags and talk about all the ingredients in that, and I was so excited. And then after we had our coffee chat later that afternoon, we were headed to town and our daughter started throwing up in the car. So she had gotten a stomach bug, so we had to cancel the prepper group meeting. Therefore, I didn't receive the knowledge that I wanted to share with y'all. And then the following Saturday, I said, well, that's fine. We'll talk about it later. That morning, we got news that Timmy's mother had passed. And so he woke up to me sharing that with him, and it just wasn't a good time for us to do live in our life. And so, life does happen. Good morning, Linda. How are you? My position is Shabbat and Shalom. Hello, thank you for joining us. But yeah, so life happened, and we lost Timmy's mother, and your father passed away 2001, 2021,
20.
2020, 2020,
20. Yeah.
2020. Um, so as you get older, that you just your family members, uh they can grow and they can shrink depending on how many you have in your family. I've
And he
always
just turned 21. 2021.
I can't remember. We did the math the other day. We looked at it. Um, but I've always wanted a really big family, and I told Timmy that that's one of my heart's desires from when I was young. Because I begged my mom and dad for siblings forever.
I did my best.
And extended family, personal family. And anyways, they waited until I was 10 to have my brother. And then I'm like, well, it's too late now. I don't want them. And
Send him back.
yeah, and my uncle and his wife never had any children. My mom's siblings never had any children. So my personal family was very small. And we didn't have extended cousins and aunts and uncles that we did holidays with. It was just always our immediate family. And I just lost both my grandparents, my last two grandparents, since moving here in the last 5 years. We've had a lot of loss since we moved here that I was very unfamiliar with before then. We lost my uncle, Timmy's aunt, Timmy's dad, Timmy's mom now, both of my grandparents, my paternal grandparents. And it's been difficult to say the least. And then Timmy's family, although it was bigger, they weren't never really got together. They were never really a close family. And then we had our three children. And should grow because they're all wanting babies in the future. But one of the things that I heard about, I shared with you the other day on a podcast that we were listening to because we didn't make church that Sunday because Morgan Linden throwing up in the car. And I was sitting here cooking on our wood cook stove, and Timmy was having coffee, and we were listening to a podcast, and they were talking about our purpose in life. And he said God created us to have fellowship with us, and He wanted to grow His family, and He wanted to give us free will to do so. And and that's why He created us to have, and that's kind of why we have kids, isn't it? To grow your family.
Grow his family.
But isn't that why we have? It's like we have so much love that we wanted to have children as an extension of that.
Yeah.
I mean, because anybody can have sex, but it takes. I mean, I say anybody. We ain't going there. But it's a whole different thing to have a family and have children, you know? And if you look at all like the homesteading families, and we know now why they had big families, because it takes a lot of people to make this clock turn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just why. You didn't sit there, oh honey, I need somebody else to help me in the farm. Let's have another boy. That's not how that goes. I mean, there's love and dedication, but it seems like a lot of homesteads and have big families. And they all pitch in together. And that's kind of what our vision was when we moved here. We thought Gavin would build his house and find a wife, and they'd have a family, and they would help in, and Morgan would find a husband, and they would build their house here, and then they would have a family. And so we knew we didn't plan on it just being us doing all the work and us developing this 47 acres. And then Lyndon would grow up and she'd get married and have a family here, and they'd each get their own section of land.
Yeah.
And they could choose to live here or not. Wait, just a second. Love the rooster crowing in the background. Oh, honey, we got lots of them. You want one for dinner? I was just discussing about this. In one of the groups, they said they had some mean roosters and had to put in freezer camp.
Yeah.
And I said, well, none of ours are mean. We got a mean turkey, Walter, but we named him, so we can't kill him. But we got way too many roosters.
Yeah, we got a lot of roosters.
So they'll have to get rehomed to new farms, or they'll have to go in freezer camp.
Yeah.
Our hens ain't liking life right now. But yeah, he's our cue. Every time I go to talk, he's like, "Arr!" But back to families. So we were talking, what was that thing saying about God? In our job here.
To grow his family.
To grow his family. And so while I was sitting here resonating on, the loss that we had experienced, or it's not just the actual death to me that I was mourning. It was the idea that our family just was never close. It was never that, Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls type family where everybody got together on Sundays around the kitchen table and at all. It was a shattered bubble when I realized I wasn't going to be a part of a big, happy, loving, tell everybody, laugh together, tell jokes, always get together type of family. That was a hard truth for me.
Well, there was a time when we had a close family when I was really small. And
when your grandma and grandpa were alive?
When my grandparents were alive. But since moving to Tennessee and finding the church, that we did, it has really, I don't know, it's given me something in my heart that I never really thought could happen, because it's amazing, all the wonderful people, and just being able to sit down and talk and laugh. And
well, you jumped from A to Z already, didn't you?
Well,
I was gonna build that joker up. You want a touch of coffee?
No, thank you.
Y'all want some coffee? I'm making beef broth on the wood cook stove and kind of prepping y'all.
Yeah, so I've definitely gotten a lot out of that, and it's, I don't know, it's filled a void in my life that I kind of wished that I'd had, but never really.
Well, I think that's the kind of the point that I was getting to. It hit me when I was hearing that podcast, and Linda, I'm going to touch base on what you just said. When I was hearing that podcast, he says, if you are a part of, God created you to have communion with him, to be a part of his family. But he also wants you to extend his family.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you have a spouse, you want to extend your family. And then it just kind of hit me when I was sitting here going, I can get upset. I can sit there and mourn that we had several miscarriages and our family should be 8 kids instead of 3 kids. And, our extended family should be larger. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I've got a huge family, because when you join God's family and you choose him, your family is huge then. Huge, because we're all part of the same body. We're all brothers and sisters. And that's the thing that Linda was saying is we've adopted, they've adopted us, friends over our lives. They have been way closer than blood, and filled that desire to have those big families. We've always, if possible, had an open door policy for all of our holidays. You don't have a place to go? Come on. And our friends have done the same. I mean, every single one of them have had an open door policy. We needed a place to go or wanted to, hang out. And so I had to change that day, a week ago, changed my mindset of, wait a minute, I've had a big family this whole time, and it kind of brought me to tears and made me, realize it's like, oh my gosh, God did provide me with a big family. They just weren't blood related, which is better sometimes. Ah, yeah, which is definitely better sometimes. They said you can't pick your friends, but you can pick your family. And there's something about a nose in there too, but we won't go into that. And that's the thing that I love about this community, our church community, it too is I when we started going there, I'm like, oh, they're all so tight knit. They're all family, and literally in the literal sense, like the preachers kin to the associates, and they're all kin, and they all grew up together, and they're all cousins of some type. I don't know how many removed, but they're all family. They all grew up together, and they all got these stories to share. And if you're an outsider and you're sitting out looking, you feel left out. You want to be a part of it. And I felt left out because of me, not because of them.
Yeah.
It was definitely me. It wasn't because of them. And after I realized that and got over it, I finally feel like part of the family. And there's not one of them that I couldn't call, no matter how much they know me on a personal level. We're all the same part of the body of Christ, and we could call any one of them and tell them we need them. And there's not a doubt in my mind that they wouldn't be here. You can pick your nose and you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your feelings. Thank you. Yeah.
That's it.
But and that's what I think is important too about our homesteading community, tying it all together really is as you hear about the barn raisins and all that, and during processing time and harvest time and even planting time, is it's kind of like this unwritten law or rule that they're all a part of the same family. And most of them very much share the same faith, not always, but they all share that same common goal of wanting to live as self sufficient as possible and wanting to live as natural as we were intended as possible. And we all kind of, not 100% of the time, but reject a lot of the modern things and the junk that society puts on us. And it's nice to be a part of that family. I mean, I've never experienced anything like it outside of our church family. Have you?
No, not really. Just, I mean, there's been times, just bits and pieces, but I mean, when you get into a really good church home with all the wonderful people, I don't know, it gives you a whole new outlook on life. And every time we go and we spend time there, it's like we walk away with something new every time. And it's all those memories
Oh,
and the conversations and just
thank you.
learning more about each other. It all adds up, and before you know it, you're sitting in the seat where you might have been there, a few years before and felt like, well,
An outsider.
yeah, kind of like an outsider, but you're sitting there and you feel like you just belong there, and it's
It's a good thing.
it is a good thing.
And it does bring comfort, especially this time of year. Linda said something so sweet. She goes, "There's many times that she would have been alone for Christmas if it wasn't for us." Back at you, sister. You can be in a room full of people and still feel alone, and that's just the difference. True friendship brings, and that we're all a part of the same body of Christ too. And that's one of the things that, when you hear too about someone passing, and gosh, there's been so much of that lately. It seems like every time we go to church, we hear about someone else passing, and you know that they knew the Lord. It's more of a celebration. I mean, you're mourning because you're sad here, but they're not sad anymore. They're not hurting, they're not in pain. You're celebrating, and it gives you hope. And I can't imagine not having that belief. I can't imagine going through life and thinking this is it. This is all there is. Oh my goodness, I would be depressed. Oh, I would take death a whole different way.
Yeah,
And
you take that hope out of it, and
yeah, it's hopeless.
yeah.
But as we're getting close to Christmas, matter of fact, somebody commented on our post. I was asking, what is everybody cooking for Christmas dinner? Christmas for us over the years has looked different. We have our traditions and things we like to do, and the kids get miffed and my vibe don't string popcorn or make cookies. And there's always been a lot of fun in it, and there's been a lot of fantasy in it and wonder. And we've always had it where we invite any of those that we found that didn't have a place to go, because I just don't think that people should be alone. We're called to be a part of a community, and we're also told to never cease assembling. That assembly doesn't have to be in four walls with a steeple. It can be in your home, in your living room, outside by your garden. We need each other. And not just in a physical sense where we need each other's help, but we need each other's in a spiritual sense, in an emotional sense. We're to carry each other's burdens. And the holidays are no exception to that. Matter of fact, they should be amplified during that time. And, the world or Satan can tell you, oh, you're just don't trouble them with your problems. You need to be alone. Just stay at home and feel sorry for yourself. You don't want to bring anybody down. Those are the biggest lies and the biggest misconception of all. You're being deceived. You need your community. You need your family, and friends. And family doesn't have to be blood. And so, but anyways, I was asking everybody what they're cooking for dinner for Christmas. And this year we're doing a little different. His parents always did barbecue on Christmas Eve. And so we're doing that for our Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We're doing barbecue. And the kids, we gave them all the option because they all have their own families now. And we're like, hey, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to celebrate at your house? Do you want to come over here? Do you want to do that evening, that morning? We're not such sticklers that we can't be flexible with that, because we have to respect that all of our children are older. Well, except for Lyndon. She's got to do what I tell her to. But she has input. She definitely has input of what they wanted to do. And they kind of divided it up. One wants to come that evening. One wants to do it in the morning. One wants to do it the next night. We're like, okay, come on. But I was asking in our group, what is everybody cooking for dinner? It's a lot different than Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is all, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy. Yeah. We are assembled right now. Amen, honey. Mm-hmm. See, this is why I like our coffee chats. Yep. And the one of lady that I know from back when we had the coffee shop said she was going to be alone, so probably eat cereal. And I'm like, oh, come on, get your rear end over here. Let's have some barbecue. Yeah. So I don't know if she's going to or not, but I'm going to reach out to her again because I just saw that this morning. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to do. They can be a part of the family squabbles and the fighting over Uno and, help wash dishes. Because if you show up, Linda, I'll put you to work. What?
Yeah, we had some times.
We're still having time.
Yeah.
It ain't over.
Yeah, I see. There's a big assembly right over there.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. And so I guess the message this morning is if you're here, God wants to grow his family. And if you are part of his family, it's your job to help grow it too. So never cease assembling. And if you feel alone and you're part of God's family, your family's huge, huge. It can get bigger. There's always room for another one at the table.
Yeah, there's always room at his table.
Isn't that awesome? So I think we're going to go now. I think we're going to go do what we need to do today. But we appreciate you guys being here. We want to
We do.
wish you a Merry Christmas. And, if you're alone and you're within driving distance or flying distance, dinner's at 5, both tomorrow and Monday. Christmas breakfast is when it's done. Let me know you're coming so I can meet you in the holler to carry you up the mountain because you need 4-wheel drive to get here. This is an honest, open invitation. We don't want anybody to feel alone or be alone. And you're always welcome at our table. And so we wish you Merry Christmas. And we hope to see you next Saturday before New Year's.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to have that bug out bag and the get home bag and all that information because the leader of our prepping group did send it to us. And I have it. And I have our own knowledge of our stuff that we pack. So get those lists ready and you never know, you might have received something for Christmas that's good for that bag. I know I've got some things planned, but y'all have a great day and thank you.
Thanks for watching, y'all.
joining.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.